Hey guys, welcome back. Well, I'm back home, and as you can see, we're right back in the garage. So, getting to work on Carner Super M again. I did a couple things off camera, just because, like I said, you know, Squatch 253 and Squatch Senior, they both have done a large amount of stuff. I mean, pretty much everything you can think of on their Super M, as far as covering, you know, the very major but minor details and measurements and everything else. So I did a lot of that stuff off camera. I'm getting a lot of people that are saying, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't use oil here, you didn't use oil there. Well, I did, okay? It's just not everything is shown on camera. We have to use a little bit of Hollywood magic, right? So today, what I did just kind of sporadically was I did the final fit on the camshaft, installed it, got the oil pump in, and I put the tappets in and the tappet cover, and that's pretty much it. So I worked on priming and painting a bunch of the hard to reach areas. So the spot behind the governor here, if you guys can see that, primed and painted that, crankshaft, pulley, breather tube, and then also the spot behind the live hydraulic pump. I'm actually probably going to have to prime and paint a lot of this because we won't be able to get to it. So, didn't even think of that. Shoot. Oh well, that's okay. Let's see, what else have I done? I've got the gear installed on the hydraulic pump. Now this is a brand new pump, but it says right in the packaging that we may have to trim off the a ½ inch of the shaft, and I can tell you right now that for sure we'll have to trim that off because there's no way that's going to clear under the front cover, I don't think. So we'll try it just to see what happens, but I highly doubt that's going to clear under the front cover. Also, the gasket that was provided, I had to kind of repunch the holes because they weren't exactly lined up. Sometimes you'll run into that, so not a huge deal on that. Haven't put in the expansion plug yet for the rear portion of the camshaft because the engine mount is in the way. That goes, you know, if the engine's mounted to. So once we get this out of the stand to put the rear plate and the flywheel on, I'll put that expansion plug in, and that'll be buttoned up for sure. Let's see, what else? Connor dropped off the rebuilt clutch and flywheel, which is right here. Also got a new throwout bearing and pilot bearing, so we can put those in. Looks good, looks good. Let's see, he dropped off an oil filter, new belts. In here I think is some more RTV and copper spray gasket for the head gasket and manifold gasket. And what else do we got to do yet? I've got all the clutch components cleaned. I've got everything is pretty much ready to go as far as engine components. We do still have to tear apart the reservoir and flush all that out and make sure there's no filings and junk in there. Got to clean out the clutch housing yet, and then I have to definitely clean out those frame rails and scrape as much of the goop out of there as I can on the front end. So all to be done at a later time, but my main concern right now is get the engine together, get the bell housing cleaned out, get the engine mounted back up to the bell housing, and get the belly pump back in it, so that this portion will then be done. And then from there, it'll be working on getting the front end all slid back into place and, you know, getting everything going. So, yeah. Really quick on this, something that I did on this, instead of installing the tappets from the top, I installed that strap steel in here. That's the main purpose of that, is so that if the engine is upside down, is so the tappets don't fall out. So I had the engine upside down with the steel strap in place, and then I just installed the tappets from the bottom side and kept it that way, and then just slid the crankshaft or the camshaft in place for the final fit. So point of interest on timing the cam gear to the crank, it's a single punch mark in the valley of two teeth here, and a single punch mark on a tooth of the crankshaft. So single punch on the valley goes to the single punch on the tooth of the crank. Make sense? And then I'm also gonna time the 5 pump drive gear for whatever reason. If they need to, you can see it here, there's a double punch mark. You probably can't see it on camera, but there's a double punch mark here, and that will line up with the double punch mark on the camshaft, which is here. So for whatever reason, if they want to run a magneto on this, they don't have to sit and mess around trying to get the pump in time with the cam gear. You run into that a lot with distributor driven tractors, and I don't know why people don't time the distributor drive to the camshaft gear. At some point in time, these things come apart and they go back together, and when they get the distributors put on them, or if they came factory with distributors, a lot of times, the distributor drive wasn't in time with the cam, because you're kind of have an infinite amount of adjustability with a distributor as far as timing goes. But with a magneto, it has to be in time. So that's why I was very specific in how I'm doing this, because for whatever reason, if they have to put a magneto on this someday, they can do that, and they don't have to worry about anything with timing on this end. So it'll all be done. Other than that, it's really just a matter of plugging away. I was going to do a little bit of workout here tonight. We'll see. I might try and test fit this pump and slide that front cover on, just to see if we're going to have to trim that drive shaft for the live hydraulic pump. But I'm really pretty tired, guys, so I don't have much energy for tonight. So we might have to continue this video tomorrow, because I need some rest. It's been a long 2 days. So let's cut the video there, and we'll bring you back tomorrow night. So stay tuned. Well, guys, I lied. We're gonna go ahead and get the governor together. I might as well do this while I'm out here, since I got everything painted and ready. The seal's already installed in the back side, so we don't have to worry about that. And I put the shaft that the articulating arm, or the thrust bearing arm, rotates on, and I also installed the pin and cotter pin in the upper portion here that actually goes to the actuating arm that goes to the carburetor. So I've got that installed, just because it's kind of a cluster getting it done. There's a small circlip that goes around the front of this shaft, and then this shaft also has a square cut on it, if you guys can see that aligns with this notch in the cover plate. So it has to be at the correct angle, because this notch is actually at a little bit of a slant towards the rear. So keep that in mind as well. But oops, sorry about that. Let's get the bearing and rotating assembly installed. Now, I like to set these up on end and make sure that the thrust bearing is working appropriately and engages. It has to slide between this yoke, because there's 2 pins, one on either side,
that contact the bearing surface itself. So have to drive this in now. I'll just use a brass hammer. And drive it in until it's seated. Make sure all that operates appropriately. Okay, so now from there, what I can do is install the actuating arm from the back side. Just slides through that seal, a little bit of oil on that seal already, since everybody is seemingly very concerned about the amount of oil I put on things. And then we can put the key in the keyway. Okay, you get a different pliers here. Shouldn't be using those snap ring pliers anyway for this, or not snap ring pliers, but safety wire pliers. There we go. Now we can install the actuating arm that connects the spring to the yoke. I'm going to call this the yoke, the rear portion that has the needle bearings in it. Let's see, spring. Now this can kind of be difficult to get in here. Sometimes it helps if you got a needle nose to kind of get things. Here, let's try this. Slide this back off. And then there we go. Just a matter of figuring out the right order of operations. Tighten down your pinch bolt. Just like that. So there we go. That portion is actually done. That's all there is to it. So it's just the articulating yoke, the rotating assembly, the actuating shaft and arm, and then the arm that slides on the front, a spring, and a key. And that's it. So not much to it really. So what I'm going to do is try to find something that I can use as to help set it up on end here. And then what we have to do is install all the gaskets. And I'm gonna put some high tack on all of them. Some sticky stuff, but it works. According to the reviews on the interweb, it works. So we'll go ahead and put that on face down, and I'll just go around and paint the top side. Kind of looks like that fake blood that you see on like in them Hollywood or Hollywood, those Halloween stores. So we can put that on, just like that. Oops. Got a little bit of that fake blood on me. These are all the same length, so what I'm going to do, put that one here, this one here. Actually, it's supposed to have the 3 with the safety wire holes on the cover itself. So Guten tight. Somebody's really beating on their diesel over on the highway. Make sure everything articulates like it's supposed to still. Okay. Now this is the tricky part. Not really, it's just there's a few pieces to this puzzle on this top side. So first things first, pull out the screws, put a high tack on the gasket, and I've actually, there's a felt that goes in here too. I've got that soaking in oil right now. But I believe, let me think here. I believe it goes gasket, plate, like this, and then we go ahead and set this down like this. And then there's this piece here, which is where the felt goes behind. And then this slides through and through the felt. So let me go grab the felt. Cover up this high tack so it doesn't dry out. And we'll install that piece. Now when I install these felts, whether it's the crankshaft seal or the axle seals, I always get out any excess. You don't have to squeeze it out, just, you know, kind of wipe it off. That way you don't have it running all over the place. But it just slides on like this, right behind that cap. And then we can install that cap in here. But the tricky part is getting all this stuff lined up together. And then, when we put it on the tractor with the carburetor, we'll likely have to adjust it because it has to go, this entire assembly can go up and down. It can slide up and down. Now I try to center it as best I can when I first put it together. And I've had pretty good luck doing it that way. Here, this is not working. Standing it up like that. Come on, work with me here. There we go. So let that sit there for a second and get my screwdrivers. Make sure we're kind of centered about halfway between up and down. See, there's already plenty of excess oil coming out of there. All right, get that oil cleaned up real quick. And then this tube goes that way. This linkage, I don't know if you guys can see in here or not. But this brass linkage has to connect with this linkage here. So we'll get those matched up. And then insert our pin, just like that. Not very easy to get to this cotter pin here. Not when you got fat fingers like me. There we go. Gotta get it bent just enough. Come on now, get in there. There we go. So, can just make sure everything rotates like it's supposed to. Make sure that cotter pin's not going to be in the way of anything. And we should be good. So now, all we have to do is put the cover plate on. Make sure the gasket fits. Put some high tack on it. And call her a day. It is some messy stuff though. but a little bit goes a long way. So I still have to edit a couple videos from my trip that I went on. There's some more action clips than just driving around and sightseeing, so hopefully you guys enjoy that stuff. And if not, then, well, we got more tractor and engine videos for you, so be patient, they're coming. We're making one right now, actually. So that's done. Cover plate. Now, these are the 3 screws, or bolts rather, that have the holes cross drilled in them for the safety wire. Boom, boom, boom. So there we have it. We'll just tighten these 6 bolts and it's done. So there we have it. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, well, I lied. Here I am putting the live hydraulic pump, or test fitting the live hydraulic pump and I gotta make sure the timing marks are aligned. Huh, look at that, first try. I'll be darned. I didn't even look, that's gotta be some kind of a record. Now the crappy part about this is getting it all aligned. All right. Now these obviously won't hold anything right now, but I'm going to put some nuts on the back side just to keep everything tight. Kind of like we did with the front cover, or the front plate. Should have been more prepared, but we'll get her. And I can almost guarantee, basically I'm test fitting this to see where we're sitting with the shaft on the front, to see if it's actually gonna cause an issue or if we're gonna be able to clear the front cover. Because if we didn't have to trim it, that would be stupendous, but something tells me we're probably gonna have to trim it. Snug them up a bit. This back one is shorter than the rest because it doesn't, we don't want it to hit the camshaft gear. But worst case scenario is I don't have to take this pump back off to trim that shaft. I can just cut it right where it's at. So I'll just cover up everything the best I can. And all right. Just get these all snug. Yeah, I can almost guarantee that we're gonna have to trim that. Pretty darn sure. Let me grab the timing cover here. Double check my timing marks. Boom. Right on the money. Couldn't have done that any better myself. See what I'm hoping is, and I'm probably not. That's kind of what I figured, but I'm gonna have to take these bolts out because I won't be able to know with those bolts in if it hits that shaft or not. Now I think, if I remember correctly, this longer shaft on the pump is for tractors that have an hour meter. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So if I have to trim it, I'm not going to do it tonight because I don't want to wake my neighbors up and everything. So, but at least I got all of the gears in time. Everything's installed on the front as far as what needs to be in time. And let's see. I'm going to back you guys up a bit here. See if it hits the front of the timing cover here. Well, we might be okay, actually. I think we're going to be okay. That's awesome. That means we can put the timing cover on. Sweet. All right, well, let me get some high tack on the timing cover and we'll go from there. Okay. Got the gasket on. I got grease on all the gears. Got the seals in place. So, see if we can't use my knee to get a couple of these started. So I think what's given us the room is this bump out here, which is actually really nice. Don't have to worry about trimming that. That piece, or that end of the shaft. Which means that we can button up the front end of this, which is awesome. So I keep walking in front of the camera. Sorry, guys. So now we shouldn't have any problems with timing, whether they're running a distributor or a magneto. Now obviously we're going to install a distributor on this because that's what he's got, but if he ever decides to switch back to magneto, he can. We won't have any issues. Try to separate the long from the short. Should only be a couple of short ones, so. And I think they actually go where do they go? They might go in the they might go in the governor, actually. I think they go the top two in the governor. So we can work at just getting all these in. Actually, I think they go here. Never mind. There we go. Perfect. All right. I'll tighten all these bolts down, and I think that's going to be it for the evening. Oh, I suppose we could put the crankshaft pulley on. Yeah. Let me tighten these bolts and we'll try and get that crankshaft pulley on. Decided to throw the governor on real quick. Since that was already put together and done, might as well put it on. Okay. All right. We can tighten those last few bolts down, and then we can put the crankshaft pulley on. Okay, well, I know what you're thinking, and the answer is yes. I had to pull the timing cover back off because I forgot to put in the oil slinger that goes on the crankshaft. It goes behind the timing cover in front of the crankshaft gear, and it kind of gets sandwiched in between the pulley and the crankshaft gear. So I forgot it. It happens. It's 11:30 at night. So like I said, you guys, I'm doing this in my spare time, you know, after my daughter goes to bed, and it's just, you know, days get to be long and you forget things, and then you see them sitting on the table after everything's all buttoned up. But anyways, we got the crankshaft pulley on, we've got the nut on. All we got to do is fold the fold over lock on, and then I think we're done for the night. Governor's on, timing cover's on, live hydraulic pump's on, everything's in time. Crankshaft pulley's on, oil pump I put in, it's only 2 bolts. So I think what we can do next is put on the oil pan and then work on the head studs. Then we can probably put the head on. Actually, I think I'm going to wait till this is in the tractor to put the head on. It's a little bit easier to pick up and everything with the engine hoist without the head on, because then I can just lift right from the head studs. But we'll put the head studs in, put the oil pan on. Then I think we can take it off the stand and put the rear plate, flywheel, clutch, and then we can clean the housing and put the engine back in the tractor. So really close, we're really close. I'm just kind of looking over everything that I see out here, and we're close. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for wrenching with me, and I'm going to bed. This is enough. We'll see you later.